The kind of structure that we're going to do here is Perttu, or I guess I should introduce us first. So I'm Charlie Chapman. I'm a developer advocate here at RevenueCat. My focus generally is more on the native iOS side of the house. But luckily we have Perttu here, and he is an expert on the React side of the house, which if you're using there we go. If you're using Bolt, you're probably going to be using React under the hood. So, Perttu, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us where you
Yeah.
are and why you're probably very sweaty?
Yes. So Perttu is the name. I'm a senior developer advocate at RevenueCat as well. Mostly doing React Native, but also Flutter. And I'm actually in New York at DroidCon, FlutterCon conference at the moment, where it's very, 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 very hot. Being a guy from the northern part of the world, I'm almost melting here. So like an ice cream. That's I'll survive
And
in this
also, do you
cafe.
want to tell everyone before we get started what else you're going to be doing in New York later this week?
Oh yes, yes. Well, it's gonna be me and a bunch of other people from RevenueCat, but we're running an event series related to vibe coding. It's called the Vibe Coding Cafe. The first one is gonna kick off on Friday and last until Saturday evening at Grand Central Station, where we're gonna have like hot desk. You can come there and work. You can get some beverages, some cool things to cool down. There's a swag store. You get all kinds of cool swag. You can get help with your byte coded app. We have speakers giving lightning talks on different topics, and people just gathering around to talk about byte coding and, and those kind of things. I think that's all of it. Might have forgotten something, but
Yeah, I threw
that's the
it in the
main gist.
chat if you're in the live stream webinar, but yeah, it's the Vibe Coding Cat Fe, and yeah, it's running starting you said Friday in Grand Central Terminal, where
Yeah.
we have like a pop-up cafe where you can come and co-work and work on your project, work on your hackathon project. So Perttu is going to be there. So yeah, definitely go by. I'm very jealous. I'm not going to be able to make it to this one, but I'll be able to make it to some of the later ones we're going to do. So I'm pretty excited
Nice.
about that. So the way we're going to run this is the point of this is to answer your questions. That's why we're here. So um, I'm going to be checking out the chat in Livestorm. I'm also I have the YouTube live stream open, and I'm keeping track of comments coming in through there. So please, please, please throw your comments in there and interrupt us at any point, because that's the whole reason we're here. Otherwise, we're just going to do a demo. Perttu is going to show you how you can integrate purchases into your Bolt app with RevenueCat. So
Yeah.
I already see Panjay asked the question in the chat. Thank you. So the question is, will this cover web application integration too? Because RC web billing has me tearing out my hair.
Oh, okay. I think we can take a look at it partially. I guess as a like a question back, do you have a apps that is both for web and mobile, or just for web? I think that kind of determines it.
Yeah, so it's a web app primarily.
Web primarily. All right. Uh, there is a blog post that I wrote uh, last month, I think. Oh, I could actually share my screen. That makes it easier to
Oh
see
yeah, there you go.
what I'm talking about. Yeah. Uh, let's see. So you should see my browser window now. All right. So I wrote this earlier, like a month or so ago, and basically what this is about is using the web billing in a web app, but it's using it in an Expo generated app, because you can use Expo also for web as well, in addition to iOS and Android. So I would suggest that you take a look at this. It pretty much has all the code stuff that we need to do. Uh, what is different here, in like terms of like just building a normal web app, is that I'm using this code. Let's see if I can actually find it. So yes, I guess it's I'm installing the RevenueCat purchaser.js. So that's what we need in order for things to work on the website. So the tutorial I was going to show, it's going to use React Native purchases package instead of this purchases.js. Uh, and that's at least going to be different. But you're probably struggling with this. What are exactly the problems you're having with it? I'm going to try to find the chat myself as well.
Yeah, it looks like Panjay is typing. And while they're typing, just so everybody else knows that RevenueCat's web billing is basically a billing engine that we have for doing web purchases. So we control that whole stack, as opposed to it going through the App Store, the Google Play Store, or Stripe, which you could also use if you're doing web payments. So that's what that's about. So Panjay said they're getting an invalid API key error. I feel like we've talked about this exact thing before.
Yeah, we had a talk with this, but this was with React Native purchases. So you're setting up your React purchases, not React purchases, the purchases.js package. Actually, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit because it's easier for me to navigate. Once I show some code, I'll show you the actual thing. So this is actually web SDK. Yeah. So when you install this and you call purchases configure, you mean this one? Web public billing API key is complaining to you that it's wrong, I'm guessing.
Yes.
All right. I would guess that what's happening probably is that check that you're doing testing in sandbox mode, so that you've actually purchased that configure is the Stripe. I don't have Stripe currently now configured so that it could show. But I think it's mentioned also in this tutorial that I wrote that use the sandbox key first for testing. Because if you're doing it like that, you have it configured for the test environment and you're using non-sandbox SDK or public API key, it will actually give that error. So I think that might be the problem. So I would try with that. Yeah.
All right. Sounds like that's at least
yeah
something that can be tried.
I'm pretty sure that try that, and I'll take a look at I can do some searching if I can find later if there's a I can actually probably add it to this. Like I think this blog post that I wrote earlier has a section on it about the sandbox testing, but if it doesn't have, or if it's not good enough, just email me and I'll explain it, and I'll add a more thorough explanation here about that. But yeah.
Sweet. I'll keep my eye on the chat if there's follow-up questions on that.
Great. All right. So, but this time I'm just going to show a different kind of a demo. So we're going to do a mobile app, so for iOS and Android using Bolt, using Expo. And I've also written a blog post that like talks about how to do this. And we're going to go into that blog post, and I'm just going to steal this prompt that I've created earlier. And I've tweaked it out multiple times while demoing it and while testing it out. So I hope that this time it will just work without any problems. But if it doesn't, then we'll just have to figure out how to fix those. So what this prompt does, it's a bit hard to read because of the font size and whatnot, is that it creates an app to show cat pictures, and it shows you 2 cat pictures, and then it locks you behind a paywall with the rest of the 15 cat pictures. And it does specific things in terms of like what it installs as dependencies. So like pre-made code, and for example, one of those packages is React Native purchases, which is RevenueCat's SDK for React Native apps. And because we're building stuff with Expo, which is a React Native framework, we need this package in order to have workable subscriptions on iOS or Android. So the actual package itself is multi-platform. We just have to be sure that we install version 8.11.4 or later, because the versions before that didn't work with Expo Go, which is a preview app that Bolt uses under the hood to show you the state. And it would just crash. Now we support it, but you still can't do like real purchases on it. That's because we need to do a development build of the React Native app that we're building. And I'm gonna go through that as well when we get there. But now we're just interested in like basically scaffolding the app and showing all the elements correctly. And then we're gonna download the code that Bolt generated. We're gonna make a development build, and we're gonna initialize the SDK. So that's what we're at least gonna try to do. So we'll copy this. I've already copied it here. I'm gonna run Bolt. I'm gonna make this window a bit bigger so you can actually see it there. I'm working on my laptop, so that's why it's a bit tight. But you should now see Bolt doing its work. And I'm thinking, I think this is can I go a little bit smaller on the font size? And
no, it's actually good. I think being on the smaller screen makes it better for the stream.
All right.
Because the text is a pretty good size. Anyone in the chat, let me know if you want us to bump the size up, though.
Yeah. Well, while it's doing that, we'll code about it for 16 seconds. We should eventually see a preview here. And if we don't, then we're going to just have to do a device preview. So by default, Bolt, when it creates an Expo app, because Expo app can be also for iOS, Android, and web, it tries to show you a web preview of it. And that can sometimes fail. And I deliberately left the part that might cause it to fail in this case. So in order to see if that actually still happens, because it's more interesting to try to figure out why that happens and then fix it instead of just fixing everything in the problem. Because usually you might run into this problem yourself as well, and then you wouldn't know how to fix it unless we go through it here. And well, now it's creating all kinds of rules for itself, like what it needs to do, like design wise, and installing the packages. So it's installing the dependencies. And if we actually look at the code, it seems to have created already most of the code parts here, which is good. But let's see if it installed the right dependencies. So these are all the dependencies that it added. Okay, well, now it's already asking me to test it out, but let's go back here. So purchases and purchase UI. These are both RevenueCat SDKs that we need to have. And now we ran into a problem, which I'm pretty sure is exactly the problem we were. Yeah. So it's saying package React Native purchase UI doesn't seem to be linked. Make sure you rebuild the app after installing package at whatnot. So that might happen at times. And that's because it's trying to do a web build of those packages with those packages, and those packages are supported by a web build. So what we can do is we can actually test if this works on an iOS or Android app by just scanning this code, which I'm now going to do with my phone, and it's going to open Expo and load the project. So let's see if this preview like works. Then we know that it's most likely due to the fact that it's trying to use these packages inside the web preview, which it shouldn't do. And we can just fix that by asking Bolt to fix it. But let's first check that. Yeah. So now we got it. The preview on my phone looks correct. So it works here. It just doesn't work here where it's saying building the mobile application. And that's exactly for the reason that I just mentioned. So if we look at it from the code perspective, that is because I'm guessing it's overlay image. No, it's not with. It's layout. That's awesome. There's the layout. It's calling initialize purchases. That probably works. That is in the in this file. This is where we need to put our API keys once we download this project. But then for the overlay image, it's using is logged. And I do wonder where the button is to paywall footer container. So this is the thing that's causing problems. This component is not usable in the web version. So we can actually ask Bolt that, can you make a, let's say, can you make a web version? Make web version work by moving inside a platform specific component. You could also ask Bolt just to fix this. Like, could you fix that? It most likely will figure it by itself that, hey, this is the reason. But now, for the sake of time, I don't want Bolt just like randomly thinking for 16 seconds and proposing something else and then going through that loop again and again. I'm just going to tell it myself what I think it needs to fix. Such as paywall web.tsx and paywall.tsx. And it's probably going to do that. Can it make web version by moving? Oh, okay. I see you have an existing cat person. However, there are several different features. So I guess it's now going to start. Well, it says it's telling all the packages again, which is surprising. But I guess that's just the nature of these tools, that they might sometimes end up doing slightly different thing than what we were expecting. In this case, it seems to be that he thought that I need to install everything. But let's see how that works out. But Charlie can probably remember that this is exactly the problem we had the last time as well. But we just spent more time trying to figure out what was actually going wrong there.
Yep, exactly. And while this is going, maybe you have some ideas here too, just to throw this in. Yep. I've been having a conversation in the chat, but Daniel is asking about, he was saying that their app is kid focused. So in order to comply with some regulations, they needed an age gate before they trigger a purchase. So they're using our paywalls, but they want to pop open a like a math question before the user hits subscribe. It sounds like it would be okay to do that before opening the paywall itself, which would be the easiest way to do it. If you wanted to show a custom prompt before actually triggering the subscription, I think you'd have to build the paywall yourself then. I'm trying to think if there's a way with our current paywalls to do that right now.
No, I don't think you can do like even like simple logic that 1 + 1 has to be 2 and then showing things on that. I don't think there's a support for that, but I also think that probably shouldn't be, because easiest way to do that would probably be to have a logic that is like generalized enough in the app, because you might have some other things as well which you want to configure behind that. For example, once you subscribe, that you can't like unsubscribe yourself or adjust the settings or something like that. So I think it would be better to have it like in quite a lot of parts of the code actually. The paywalls would just be then very simple and available wherever basically they're needed.
Yeah, I think that for sure it would be the easiest thing. I think the concern is, it might hurt conversion to have that question be before you even show the paywall, because somebody might just immediately cancel, and as opposed because if you're putting it as like a feature gate, if somebody hits some pro feature and you're going to pop up the paywall, if instead you popped up a math question, that might hurt your conversions compared to if you showed the paywall first. I'll take that to the team, because that's an interesting point that I'm not sure that we have a great like solution for doing it inside the paywall itself, but that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would be just about like simple logic gates, basically. I think that's what it is about. If you wanted to do that in a paywall, and I don't think we have support for it, so probably it's not really that difficult to do. So what happened during this time when when it built the it built the project, it decided that because RevenueCat doesn't work in web with this package, I'm just gonna come up with my own code for doing it, which will not do anything. So I had to tell it that please use the real code where applicable, it's interesting that Bolt just like completely ignored that rule, which I had in the beginning. In the first rule is that please use real code. And now that it's tried to fix it, it just thought that, okay, well, it doesn't matter anymore. so let's see if this works better. And if we can actually get the web version working. If we can't, then we'll just do an iOS and Android version today. With the web version just being, well, the web version would in any case be more limited in this case. Okay. What are you saying now? Interoperator is not a function. Well, you can try fixing that. That's a new error I haven't seen before. It doesn't actually tell me anything. So I'm gonna Google that while Bolt does its hallucinations.
I like how authentic your New York ambiance is. With the sirens going by.
Yep.
I feel like I'm there eating a slice of pizza.
Yep, that is. It's been I've liked it so far. The only thing I don't like is the heat. It's way too much. Yeah, it's way too much for me. Like I came from the conference center, this cafe, which is like 10 minutes walk, and I was like, if I walk that walk, I'm gonna be soaking wet from sweat. So I just ended up taking an Uber, which then lasted 5 minutes, and it feels so stupid, so out of place, but it was better than being like dying in heat at this point. All right, so now Bolt has tried to fix it. Let's see if we can actually. We'll scan this code that is showing. Oh no, okay. Well, this is Bolt being Bolt. I got an error that the project you're trying to open is Expo 52. So we can actually take a look at this. It's this one here. The Expo version that Bolt uses should be 53. But while it was trying to fix this, it decided that I'll downgrade the Expo SDK to 52, which is of course not backwards compatible. So, well, yeah, we can see here why you need to be quite specific when you're asked, like, because it's otherwise will think that the correct way of installing stuff is just to change version by yourself. So, please install Expo SDK 53. So we can actually get to working states. And if not, then we'll just do the prompt from the beginning and we'll skip the web version for now. And it even decided to take like the base version. So there are new versions of the 53 already. But I also love that it's showing the key improvements of this version, which in this case, in our case, it's only like that. Okay, this will just make it work, but it's thinking that we actually want to like we're upgrading from a version that it actually ended up just like downgrading. So yeah, AI tools not perfect. Once again, scan the code. Let's see. I hope this time things work better. Nope. It's still an old version because I don't think it actually installed npm.
It just didn't do it.
No.
Oh, it didn't.
So
it didn't run npm install.
it didn't install any packages. So it just changed the package JSON and thought that that's enough. Okay, what are you saying this time? Expo vector icons. So okay, so you came up with a version of vector icons that doesn't exist, which is also interesting. I think at this point it's just easier to start with a completely new chat and try this from the beginning, and we'll just keep the web version. Because apparently we're having a day with Bolt where it's just thinking that it wants to go solo.
And you tend to run into these issues more at the beginning, right? Versus when you're making smaller changes to an existing app.
Exactly. And like one of the things is like this prompt is surprisingly complicated. So this would probably work better if we asked it to first build the app and not think about the subscriptions and then build it that, okay, we're going to add subscriptions to it for iOS and Android. So then it doesn't try to do as many things at the same time, which usually helps with it doing like the minimum amount of changes. Usually, but you can never know. That is like I personally use an IDE called Cursor, which has similar features as Bolt in terms of like building one code by itself. But I usually ask it to do way smaller things, and like I'm asking it to change like one single screen, how that works. So in that sense, like Bolt is doing a lot of things because it's like building the app from scratch. It's adding like building the UI, making that look nice, adding subscriptions. Those are a lot of things to do, and there's a lot of things that can like because of the context that it has. It's just like tries to take shortcuts.
Yeah.
Or maybe you forgot to tell it that explicitly that please don't do this because I know that that doesn't work, for example. So. You know any good pizza places in New York, Charlie?
John's on Bleecker Street. That is
Oh.
Well, no. I missed the opportunity. I should have said Sparrow. That's the classic local pizza joint. Yeah. No, John's on Bleecker is I think that's my favorite one that I've been to. It's very good.
Yeah.
There's one right across the street that's called like Bleecker Street Pizza, I think, or maybe it's called John's. I don't remember. I remember they sound very similar and they're different styles, but they're both very good.
Yeah. All right. So now we have the app back on the mobile. So we're just gonna keep the web configuration setting here because we're in any case gonna download this. So I'm just gonna download the project. I'm gonna open it in my IDE. I'm gonna share that IDE, the view of that pretty soon. Then we'll actually look at changing the API keys so that we can start getting something that actually hopefully works. Yeah. All right. You should see a cursor window now. I guess so. It might be a little tiny on the font size.
When you bumped it up, it looks pretty good.
Okay, that's good. We're gonna do npm install first, because that's the thing we need to first. So okay, we installed the packages, and now we're gonna do what's called a development build, and that's pretty easy to do. We first need to run a command if we don't have it called this npm install escli. So this means Expo application services command line interface. And once you've done that, you just log in. I've already installed it and I've logged in as well. So we're instead of gonna do just like ES build platform iOS, which is the command for that looks like this. we forgot to do platform. I wonder what's happening there. Oh, it's actually we probably need to run configure actually first. So let's do that. Yeah. All right. Existing is project found for this project. So I built with this. The reason why it knows it's an existing one is because in the app.json when Import creates it, it calls this project called Expo Native Wind. If you're working on a new one, you should probably name this something else. But because I actually wanted to use the previous configuration instead of coming up with a new one, uh, I'm just gonna do that. So that should be on now. Why is it saying platform? Expected platform. So something is wrong in the comment. I'll just quickly check if I have the correct one there. Uh, um,
Are you looking at another window right now?
yeah,
Ah, okay.
I'm looking at my browser.
here. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is here. It's missing one line from there. Do I want to run Git in it? In this case, no. Okay, well, let's do it. Initial commit. So it's asking me to configure it. Use existing ES project found, and absolute discount. I'm gonna say yes. Would you like your iOS bundle identifier to be? It's asking what do you want to use. Do I want to use this one? And I've used this same bundle identifier for iOS already a few times, so I'm just gonna say yes. I'm gonna say iOS app only uses standard XM encryption. In this case, because we're building an app that is not like meant for anything that important, I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger. We're just gonna say yes. If your app actually has some non-exempt, oh wow, algorithms, you would probably have to answer no, and then you would have to submit some documentation for Apple. So I'm gonna log into my account. Oh, okay. Would you like to try again? Yes, please. Okay. So apparently I need to log in. There. All right. It's asking me to validate the device. 176.029. Validating code. Okay. Then I'll select my organization, which is called Fenrir Digital. And also provider Fenrir Digital. It's my own company.
Ah, okay. That's your Apple ID. Or
yeah,
Apple
that's my Apple ID. Yeah. That's what I use for my personal apps. And now it started building the app. So eventually this will we're waiting in priority queue, so that's good.
And this is Expo that's building it, right?
Yes. So nothing is happening locally on my device. I could run these commands on a Windows machine as well, and it would just work pretty easily. Technically, you could even run these probably in Bolt's command line, actually. I haven't tried that out, but there's nothing that technically stops you from doing that because nothing like native code wise or native like that requires, for example, a Mac computer is run on your computer, but instead Expo just takes the code that we have here, builds it on their server, and gives us a code to run it on a simulator, basically. And I'm gonna share the simulator screen as well after after a second. And while that runs, I think I could actually show you a little bit of the RevenueCat configuration. Are there any questions, by the way?
Literally, we just had a update from Panjay. So they tried the sandbox API key and think it worked because the next error was something about me not being able to use purchases.login. Maybe that's because this is not a native app. I ran into this error at some point, and I think that was the
Yeah.
reason. When I asked Bolt to fix that, it was another error. So I decided I might just need to scrap the paywall feature for now because I've consumed close to 10 million tokens just trying to debug
Yeah.
this between today and yesterday.
Yes. Purchases.logging does work on a web app, so we don't actually have that on the native mobile apps. What you're missing from that is that you need unique IDs for the users. So unless your app has like a user authentication, I think you might need to figure out something else, for example, an email or something to do it. Because otherwise, we don't know who to connect the subscription to. That's the thing. I think you can. The example demo, if you look at the blog post, I think I use an email for that, and that works at least for testing purposes. But yeah,
Are
I'm
you
gonna
saying
show.
you
Yeah,
can't use purchases.login from the web SDK? Is that what you said?
you can use, but you have to give it something. You have to give it
Yeah,
a
you
unique
need
ID.
to have
Yeah,
the actual user
yeah,
ID. Right.
yeah, exactly. So you can't just if you don't call it. I think it will not work with the purchases, or it won't let you go through it. But yeah,
Yeah, so you should
uh,
be able to use that.
yeah. Yeah, so this is the RevenueCat dashboard. You can see that I have here both example projects selected. Active trials, active subscriptions, monthly ago. There's nothing. There's new customer in last 28 days. Well, I think that's from the day when we last time built this project. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna use the same thing. And I'm gonna look at the API keys, which is under platforms, and then the public API key for App Store created on Trio Vehicle. So this is the one that we're gonna copy uh, and actually paste in the. And now I have to once again share a different screen, but or share a different window. So a bit of playing around, but so we go back to cursor. We can still see that Expo is building it. And we can go to uh, initialize purchases.ps file, where we have this replace with your actual iOS API key. So I'm going to paste the key here. It's all right that this wasn't included before we started the build for the app. And that's because we're going to run this in the simulator. We're going to install the native parts that Expo is actually building on their servers in the simulator. And then we're going to start a development server in Cursor so that every code change that we make is reflected on that once this build finishes, if it does. Like I should be in the priority queue, but this sounds like a very slow priority queue.
Busy day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also getting very busy here in the cafe. Like when I came here, it was just me and like two other people, but now it's suddenly a local meetup place. So apologies for all the noise.
The AirPods are doing a surprisingly good job on the noise canceling, though.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good to hear. That is good. Yeah. Was it Pancho? That's the answer. Uh, I'm gonna try to
Yes.
read the performance. Okay, great. Yeah, but I think it's exactly about that. That you need to have uh, the actual ID of the user so that we can get it to work correctly. Uh, and like technically, you could use emails. That's like for testing purposes. That works as a user ID. Just use the email address of yourself or something like that. In real application, you wouldn't want to do that because technically that's some information that you don't want to be necessarily showing at that point or sending to RevenueCat's servers as user IDs. We have a separate field for that if you want to send like emails to our backend. They shouldn't be the user IDs. I think we mentioned it in our documentation a few times as well. Please don't do it. But during testing period, it's all right. And I guess you could also do it with Paddle instead of Stripe. And the setup is still the same in that case as well. Oh, that like Charlie, when you asked, like, was I showing or looking at a different screen? It's actually quite interesting. I'm sharing cursor and I'm like browsing over the. Let's see what happened here. Oh, okay.
Fastlane failed.
Yeah, ambiguous use of window. This is interesting. I've done this once before, and I think it should just like work if we run it again.
It's one of those.
Yeah, yeah. Like Fastlane is a bit of a. It can cause some problems. That's my experience with Fastlane. That it, but
You
Fastlane
should
is
talk
for those.
to Josh, an employee of
Oh,
RevenueCat, is the lead maintainer of Fastlane still.
is it? Oh, okay. Well, then I
Yeah,
have to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You should ping him on
Yeah.
the side. I don't know how much time he's spending on it day to day, but
All right. All right. Yeah, but
he's the
Fastlane still
Fastlane expert.
pretty much powers everything in terms of like iOS development deployments and I guess Android deployments as well. So people who don't know what Fastlane does is uh, how to explain it in simpler terms. It technically takes your the things you would do normally in Xcode, which is a development environment for macOS app or iOS apps on macOS. And it runs commands for building the app and whatnot through a command line, which then enables you to do all kinds of things. For example, actually building the app on a different computer, on a different server completely, instead of on your own device. And it just makes those kind of things easier.
Yeah, it's a
And
collection of tools for like
Yeah.
automating your build stuff. I know it's still pretty popular for like auto generating screenshots based on your app and things like that. There's a whole bunch of different tools, but obviously
Yeah.
Expo is using it internally. It sounds like for some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they use it for like technically Expo application services, ES build, whatever it's called. It's just a web UI for Fastlane in a way. So it does a lot of other things as well. But like when it's building the native code parts, it's just basically Expo running Fastlane on their server, building the native code, and then giving you a link to download that native. So that's what it does. There are of course things that it does also on top of that. So uh, because Expo apps come with both native code and then the JavaScript code. Um, and as long as the native code doesn't change, we can do a lot of changes on the JavaScript code. And just instead of shipping a new version of the app to the user, we can send like just the JavaScript parts, which can then actually end up meaning that the whole UI, how the app works and looks changes. And because those JavaScript changes can be big or small, and they can be like in a single bundle. So what it's called, we can actually just send those, like have users when they open the app, we download that JavaScript updates on the background, and once it's finished downloading, it will just like run that code instead of the one that came packaged in with the version from the app store that you downloaded, changing the app. And reason why you would want to do that is, for example, that if you're submitting builds to Apple, Apple will always review how the app works and how it looks, and that doesn't go against any of their rules, for example. Uh, and that can at times take some time. So if you accidentally submit a critical bug fix, for example, that your app is passing on a certain screen, and you know that it's because there's a JavaScript code that is failing, or maybe you just have like even like a some text string is saying has a bad typo, and you want to fix that. You don't want to submit a new version for Apple and Google actually as well to review. You could just update the JavaScript bundle, and that used to be that in order to do that, you would have to do a lot of things by yourself to configure to be able to do that. Expo gives you that without you even thinking about it. So when you run Expo build, uh, it will compare what has changed. It will check that, okay, native code didn't change. So we can actually do just like a JavaScript change to the app. And it will ask you that, do you want to ship this to all the users or just half of them and whatnot? And those kind of things like out of the box, which is pretty useful when you start to have a lot of users. I think we're gonna might run out of time before the build like finishes, but I don't know if the last webinar is still viewable on YouTube or somewhere. But there you can see at least a working version of the same thing that doesn't suddenly randomly break in the build pipeline.
Yeah, we don't even have like a progress indicator anymore.
No, no, it's just build in progress. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess yeah, we have that other video if you want to see kind of the ending process. And then we can probably wait, we do have another question. Let's see. Panjay is back. I have a question about the sandbox API key and the production key. When can I use the production key? After deployment?
So you want to use the production key on a version that is in production. So
Yeah.
every time you actually want to purchase something, use the production key, because you can't do any test purchases. If you put like a real credit card, it will actually transact money from you. So you can do that with Expo's. If you have an Expo application, you can configure environment like production on staging, and you can configure environment variables so that the value is different based on if it's in production or development. There's a good documentation on that on Expo's side, and you can probably even ask Bolt just to do that. That take you to configure environment variables for production and sandbox testing for that. Yeah,
Cool.
it is. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice with tools like this where you can literally just like ask the tool what to do.
Yeah.
But it's because a lot of times whenever you're first getting started with this stuff, it's so hard to even know what to Google. And so being able to just explain in plain English, like, I don't know what's going on. Why am I running into this? Blah, blah, blah. And it at least point you in the right direction on where to research. I feel like makes a big difference compared to coming in cold.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like yeah, this should be recorded, right?
Yep. Yeah, this will be recorded. You'll be able to find it on the YouTube page. I don't recall if it'll be like as a video or if it'll just be in the like live section, but either way, it'll be accessible.
And I strong. Okay, now we're getting just a fast laner, so I'm not gonna try to fix it now, because it's not actually my problem. I think there's something on Expo's servers at the moment, probably. not figuring out. But I strongly suggest to look at the previous video where things work a little better, and we also managed to fix the problem with the web preview by just asking Bolt to do it. That time it didn't hallucinate solutions. That should end up doing things correctly.
And yeah, before we wrap up, like if anybody has any other questions related to RevenueCat or Bolt or anything really, we have a few minutes that we can answer some questions either on the chat in Livestorm or in YouTube. And yeah, we'll give that a couple minutes, and if nobody has anything, then we can go ahead and wrap up. And you can go find some air conditioning.
Yeah. I can go back to the very, very warm conference hall. Oh, like every time? It shouldn't fail every time.
Yeah, you've done this before, right?
I've done this before, yeah.
That's what we demoed last week.
Should work. I will actually check my Expo account and see what is complaining there. Yeah, but we did this last week and things worked out. I think this time we're just having some problems with Fastlane. Actually, I think I might have an idea that what is actually happening here. Yeah, I know what the problem is. The problem is, is actually, let's see. I'll share my screen because I actually managed to fix this in a previous project that wasn't using Bolt or anything. So this isn't actually connected to Bolt in any way. This is connected to Expo's SDK. So you can see here the message, the warnings that we're getting, the errors we're getting is about React Native Factory, cannot write all this stuff, whatever.
What are we looking at real quick? This is the...
Oh, yeah. So if you go to expo.dev and you have signed up for Expo account, you can see the build process here. So you can see everything that's been happening. And then there's the command run Fastlane. So if we go down that all the way to the bottom to see where it actually fails, we see that it's like these native code parts that fail. And the reason why these fail is because the version of the Expo SDK that is being used here in the, if we take a look at the packages, is 53. And I mentioned earlier that there are newer versions of Expo available already. I think it's like, actually, let's check from, so NPM is a package management system. So we can actually see it from here. We're going to remove that because we're going to see the new version. So there's a newer version called 53.0.12. If you actually install that here and then run the command, it will work because there is some kind of problem with the base version of 53 that sometimes starts to just like fail like this in the Fastlane build. So you can actually, if you upgrade that version to be like the newer version, it should start working. I think they will also at some point fix it on Expo's own backend, that it will get around this. Because this is basically just a mismatch between Fastlane and Expo. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That it's actually about that. It's Bolt is just installing an older version. So I'm probably going to update the prompt that you please use 53 or something well, and that might work.
You'll update the prompt in that blog post?
Yes, in the blog post, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that that brings us to time. Thank you, Perttu, for joining us live from New York in the heat and showing this off. Thank you, everybody else, for joining. And you can find us all over the internet to ask any questions that you have. And then everything RevenueCat is at RevenueCat.com. And don't forget, if you're in the New York area, to check out the vibe coding cat phase in Grand Central Terminal later this week.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.